of course, we've already discussed Dr. Quintel when we came back from a recess. He was approached by a reporter in the hallway while he was in the middle of testifying, but on a recess, asked if he could be, the reporter asked if he could ask questions of Dr. Quintel. Dr. Quintel said no, and the reporter gave him a card. That's my understanding from Dr. Quintel.
Yes, sir.
Anybody want to be heard on that?
Did not take it, the card.
Do you want to be heard on that?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to add that Dr.
All right.
Quintel did
Do you want to be heard on it, though?
No.
No.
After hours yesterday, I was contacted by Judicial Security and notified that a witness who testified and had not been released from subpoena, and again, this is second or third hand, and it's my understanding both parties have been made aware of this, was being interviewed by a news channel reporter in the hallway outside of the courtroom. When deputies were locking up, someone told them that this was going on. I don't think the deputies actually saw it, but it was reported to them.
And Judge, I spoke to the witness, and there was a discussion with the media, but nothing was talked about what was going on in the trial or the testimony or anything like that. And I've spoken with the witness and asked them not to do that anymore before the trial's over.
This is the first I've heard of that, Your Honor. I want to know who the witness was.
The reason I didn't speak in specifics is this is all hearsay within hearsay within hearsay.
I understand.
It was reported that it was Eva Benefield gave an interview to a reporter from News Channel 8.
Give me a moment, Your Honor, please. I believe she's under state's name.
Yes.
And did the state request that she remain available under the subpoena?
Yes.
Okay. I think perhaps a hearing may be in order.
All right.
And Judge, I don't know, the state would not be opposed to a hearing. I can represent that this particular witness did not speak about anything that was prohibited by the rule of sequestration. No one said to this witness, you're not allowed to talk to anybody about the case, just your testimony and the witnesses in this trial going on right now. So,
All right. Go ahead.
So, not to compound it, but to the extent we're doing housekeeping things now, we also have an issue, Your Honor, with an impeachment witness to Stephanie Murphy, specifically Faith Brown, who is representing Miss Benefield during the same proceedings. She was not on our witness list, but given the testimony of Miss Murphy, we are going to have her outside this afternoon, and the court may want to conduct a Richardson hearing as to that. So just for planning purposes.
All right. Do you understand that Faith Brown may be called as a witness?
yes.
All right. I wasn't going to get too involved in the Richardson hearing yet. It needs to be done, obviously, and I've got a note for that. All right. So on the Eva Benefield potential interview with someone at News Channel 8, you're not asking for any relief.
No.
I don't know what relief you're going to ask for, but if you're asking for some relief, I'll let you get started.
Well, the relief I would ask for initially is that she obviously be barred from being called as a witness, potentially. Secondarily, to the extent the court admonished her about doing exactly that which she did, I've observed thus far the court's general admonishment that it gives to witnesses. I'm assuming Ms. Benefield received it as well. Is she in the courtroom, by the way? Ms. Benefield?
Appears she is, yes.
Yeah, I'd like to have her step out.
All right, ma'am, if you please remove yourself from the courtroom.
This is a young girl who lost her father. I'm not looking to hurt her, but given her disregard of the court's admonition, I think precluding her from being called as a rebuttal witness at a minimum would be appropriate. Whether or not the court feels any further sanctions are appropriate as a result of her disregard of the court's warning, I defer to you on it.
Did you want to be heard at all?
Judge, I would just dispute that she violated exactly the court's order. And if she does testify, she will testify consistently with what she has already testified to in a deposition. So counsel will know if that changes, but we know what she's going to say because she said things already in the deposition. So I don't think any potential harm has come from this.
Rebuttal? All right. Whenever we talk about having a hearing, my assumption at the beginning of that was that it was going to be evidentiary and people were going to call witnesses and present evidence. Here's what the court knows. Someone told a court deputy that they observed Eva Benefield giving an interview to News Channel 8 reporter in the hallway outside of courtroom A after court had concluded for the day. At this point, I have no facts or evidence before me. I've got hearsay within hearsay as to something that happened.
All right, Judge.
Yeah, so I don't.
I'll call her.
Well, I gave you that opportunity. That's what I'm saying is that if everybody wanted a hearing, then
All right, well, I took it for granted that the court would.
I'm not going to assume this is true.
Yeah, so court likes, I'll be happy to call her and we'll have a brief hearing.
It's up to you. All right, can you call
I'll
Miss
call.
Miss Benefield back in? State, just looking at the list, you have 3 witnesses left?
Yes.
All right. Do we expect to finish today with the state's case? Come on in, ma'am.
No, I thought you were talking to me.
Your Honor, do we know which deputy ordered the matter?
No.
Or any of the deputies in the courtroom that saw the conversation late yesterday afternoon? Do we know which deputy it was? Sergeant?
As I said, it was reported to me that some unidentified person told the deputy.
Okay,
So,
give me just one moment.
are you the one that they told? Yeah. Okay, right here. Mr. Taylor.
Got it.
Apparently it was reported to Deputy Racky.
Okay, may I have a moment with the deputy?
Of course, State, you want to be present?
Just have them step into our office.
Ms. Benefield, I'll remind you that you are under oath. If you can scoot a little bit closer to that microphone and just answer the questions in a loud, clear voice.
Good morning, Ms. Benefield.
Good morning.
You appear appeared yesterday and testified before Judge White in this case, did you not?
I appeared on Tuesday and testified.
Tuesday. Time flies. At the end of your testimony, do you recall Judge White instructing you about having contact with anyone because you were to remain under subpoena? Do you recall that?
I recall.
Okay. And you were here today because the state requested that you remain as a potential rebuttal witness.
Correct.
Now, what did you think Judge White's directions to you meant?
Well, I was told I wasn't allowed to speak on any of the witnesses in my testimony while in the courtroom.
So, I'm sorry, did you finish?
I'm finished.
Did you realize that when you decided to have a conversation with the reporter?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell us, if you would, I'm just trying to get an explanation. Tell us, if you would, what you were thinking that,
Objection.
Overruled.
Ask her what she said.
what you were thinking that you felt allowed you to do exactly that which Judge White cautioned you not to.
I was caught off guard in the hallway when I was under extreme emotional distress after being here, hearing different testimonies about my father's murder. And when I spoke to the reporter, I made sure not to talk about any of the testimonies or anything that happened in the courtroom or my testimony,
What did you discuss with the reporter?
just how I felt about the situation and who my dad's character was as I saw him.
When you say about the situation, you mean about the case, the trial?
Not about the trial.
What situation were you referring to?
My emotional state,
Okay. You post on social media,
I do.
TikTok,
Yes.
any others?
No.
Following your testimony here last Tuesday, did you make any posts?
I did.
Tell us how many?
3.
3. And tell us one at a time. Were all 3 of them on Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening?
1 was on Tuesday,
And when were the other 2?
yesterday.
Okay. And tell us, as to the first post, what was it about?
I said that I testified.
Okay, and did you have anything to say about your testifying?
I talked about it being on live television,
What else?
that somebody back home was watching.
I assume you have copies on your phone?
I do.
You have your phone with you here today?
I do not. Not on me.
Where is it?
It's over in the benches.
In the bushes?
In the benches?
In the benches here in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
With the court's permission, may she retrieve it so we can see exactly what it was that she posted?
Judge, I'm going to object if he knows clearly they have the post. So
Well, I don't know.
it's an invasion of her privacy to dig into a phone.
Not if it's on social media, but we started off talking about just speaking with some reporter, and now we're talking about a social media post. If you've seen it, and if she's violating the rules, let's just get it out.
Okay, I'm trying to find that out.
So so now it's a fishing expedition. If you know a violation, let's talk about it. If not, let's just get moving. We got jury waiting.
I understand that, Judge. How do I know? She's told us she posted 3 things. How do I know what it's about? What if one of them involved discussions that were inappropriate? How am I to know that? I've been a little preoccupied, and I don't do social media.
Sir, if you have specific evidence, let's talk about it. If not, you have a team. You've got Mr. one, two, three people in court right behind you. I don't know, maybe they can look it up, but let's focus on what we know about as opposed to digging into speculation.
I have no further questions.
No questions.
Ms. Benefield, when you had this conversation with the reporter in the hallway, were there any other witnesses around?
Yes. I'm sorry, let me re-answer that question. None that testified, I think.
Okay, so you're saying there were people standing around,
There were people
but
around.
none of the witnesses in this case?
No, sir. Not that I remember.
Did you talk specifically about the questions that were asked of you or the testimony you've given?
No, sir.
All right. Do you have any follow-up questions to my questions?
No, sir.
Do you have any follow-up questions to my questions? All right, Ms. Benefield, you can step back out. Did you want to call any other witnesses?
No, sir.
State?
No.
All right. All right, Ms. Benefield's out of the courtroom. Go ahead, sir. Do you have any argument? Do you want to seek any relief? You want to argue in support of any relief?
Yeah, I think she violated the court's admonition that the court routinely gives to the witnesses. And as a result, again, I have no personal interest in seeing the young woman suffer, but I do think violation of the court's admonition is sufficient to strike her as a potential rebuttal witness.
Judge, I think you asked her the relevant questions. I think the questions that you asked her are the admonitions that you gave her as a witness, and she did not break any of those.
Final thoughts? I'm certainly distressed that, let me say first, the media policy for the 12th Circuit prohibits the media from conducting interviews inside of the courthouse. It is my understanding that our media and public relations person met this morning or was going to meet this morning with the media to go over the administrative order again, because certainly I think the media is and should be aware of that administrative order and comply with it. The specific incident that we're talking about after hours yesterday, the facts that are in front of me are not that Ms. Benefield spoke about her testimony or the questions asked. But I also have not heard from the reporter, and I have not seen any tape or footage. At this point, I'm going to reserve on the request, and I'll make a decision. If and when she's called again, I'll make a decision at that point. You just have to remind me if we get there.
I'm satisfied, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, next. Deputy, if you just start, I don't care about the order, just start bringing in the jurors one at a time, please.
Judge, is Ms. Benefield allowed back in the courtroom? Any horses left?
Yes. Yes, but I'm going to give her an admonition.
Okay.
Just, if you tell him to just hold up for a second, she can come back in. At this point, I'm reserving on whether she can be recalled or not, but I think an admonition at this point is appropriate. Yes, Ms. Benefield can come in.
This court going to allow her to sit in for further testimony, knowing that she may be recalled, and the rule has been invoked.
Yes, under Marcy's. Sorry. No, hold on. All right, Ms. Benefield, you can stop right there. Ma'am, the court has ruled at this point that I'm reserving ruling on whether you're going to be allowed to be recalled as a witness or not in this case. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I'll make that ruling down the road. But I want to admonish you about the instructions that I've given and the importance of those. They matter and they need to be followed. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, ma'am, you can retake your seat. All right. No. Morning, sir. You can just grab this front chair is just fine. And can you remind me, please, what juror number you were?
33.
33. All right. Juror 33, the reason I'm going to bring the jurors out individually is that this morning the court was provided a letter from a law firm representing a reporter who indicated that during the lunch break yesterday, the news reporter walked to a restaurant near the courthouse for lunch. Inside, there was a large screen television playing coverage and commentary of the trial. Additionally, 2 individuals in the restaurant were discussing a witness's testimony. The conversation occurred within earshot of a man who the news reporter recognized to be a juror in the case. So I'm bringing you out to find out, did that happen to you? Have you received any information outside of these 4 walls?
No, I didn't go to a restaurant. I ate. I was in my car and here in this building.
All right. State, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Defense?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Just grab that first chair. And could you please remind me which juror number you were?
15.
15. All right, ma'am. The reason I'm bringing about jurors individually is that this morning I was provided a letter from a law firm in West Palm Beach that claims to represent a news reporter. And the news reporter anonymously has stated that during the lunch break yesterday, the reporter walked to a restaurant near the courthouse for lunch. Inside, there was a large screen television playing coverage and commentary of the trial. Additionally, 2 individuals in the restaurant were discussing a witness's testimony. The conversation occurred within earshot of a man who the news reporter recognized to be a juror in the case. So I'm bringing everybody out to talk about, have you seen any news coverage? Have you heard people discussing the case? Received anything outside of this room?
No, sir. I go home at lunch.
State, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Defense?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. Just have a seat right there. And could you do me a favor and remind me of your juror number?
20.
Ma'am, the reason I'm calling out the jurors individually is because this morning I received an email, a letter from a law firm in West Palm Beach who claims to represent a reporter. And the reporter has anonymously stated that during the lunch break yesterday, the news reporter walked to a restaurant near the courthouse for lunch. Inside, there was a large screen television playing coverage and commentary of the trial. Additionally, 2 individuals in the restaurant were discussing a witness's testimony. The conversation occurred within earshot of a man who the news reporter recognized to be a juror in the case. So I'm asking everybody,
Are you familiar with that? Has that happened to you? Have you received any information outside of these four walls?
No, I have not.
State, any questions? Defense?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Have a seat right there, that's just fine. Could you remind me of your juror number?
Original 42.
42, thank you. All right, ma'am. The reason I'm calling out the jurors individually is because this morning I was given a letter from a law firm in West Palm Beach who claims to represent an anonymous reporter. And the letter says, during the lunch break yesterday, the news reporter walked to a restaurant near the courthouse for lunch. Inside, there was a large screen television playing coverage and commentary of the trial. Additionally, 2 individuals in the restaurant were discussing a witness's testimony. The conversation occurred within earshot of a man who the news reporter recognized to be a juror in the case. So the reason I bring everybody out is just to say, are you familiar with this? Have you heard of this? Have you been approached by anybody? Have you have watched anything on TV? Anything at all?
No, Judge. Yesterday, a couple of us chose to just not go to the restaurant area, and simply because we saw some people out and about, and we just figured it would be best to just stay clear of all of that. And no, I have not watched or viewed anything on media.
All right, thank you.
State?
No questions, Judge.
Defense?
None.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. Just have a seat right there, that'll be just fine. And ma'am, could you remind me of your juror number for Monday?
35.
All right, thank you very much. Ma'am, the reason I'm calling the jurors out individually is because this morning I was provided a letter from a law firm in West Palm Beach. And they claim to represent an anonymous reporter. And here's what the letter says, essentially. During the lunch break yesterday, the news reporter walked to a restaurant near the courthouse for lunch. Inside, there was a large screen television playing coverage and commentary of the trial. Additionally, 2 individuals in the restaurant were discussing a witness's testimony. The conversation occurred within earshot of a man who the news reporter recognized to be a juror in the case. So I'm bringing everybody out to say, are you familiar with this? Did you see any of this? Have you done anything to look at or hear anything outside of this courtroom?
I have not.
All right. State?
No questions.
No question.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, ma'am, have a seat. And could you please remind me of your juror number?
Just from the day when I was here on Monday?
Yes.
Number 21, I believe.
All right, thank you so much. All right, ma'am, the reason I'm talking to each of the jurors individually is because I received a letter this morning from a law firm in West Palm Beach. And they claim to represent an anonymous reporter. And what the letter says is, during the lunch break yesterday, the news reporter walked to a restaurant near the courthouse for lunch. Inside, there was a large screen television playing coverage and commentary of the trial. Additionally, 2 individuals in the restaurant were discussing a witness's testimony. The conversation occurred within earshot of a man who the news reporter recognized to be a juror in the case. So I'm bringing everybody out to say, are you familiar with that? Do you know anything about it? Or have you looked at anything outside of these 4 walls during this trial?
No, I'm not aware. The only situation I do know, one of the jurors, Ted, I believe mentioned he was out to lunch. And he mentioned that he did get it, he got up and left a restaurant. But that's all he mentioned. He said he felt uncomfortable and left.
Thank you, ma'am.
State?
No
Oh,
questions.
hold on.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. They just like in trial, they get a chance to ask their questions
Yes.
too.
No
State?
Questions, Judge.
Def-
No question.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Could you please remind me of your juror number?
My original one or here?
Originally.
29.
All right, thank you. Ma'am, the reason I'm bringing everybody in individually from the jury is because this morning I received a letter from a law firm in West Palm Beach, and they claim to represent an anonymous reporter. And here's what the letter says. During lunch on yesterday, the news reporter walked to a restaurant near the courthouse for lunch. Inside, there was a large screen television playing coverage and commentary of the trial. Additionally, 2 individuals in the restaurant were discussing a witness's testimony. The conversation occurred within earshot of a man who the news reporter recognized to be a juror in the case. So the reason I'm bringing everybody out is to say, do you know anything about this? Have you heard anything about this? And also, have you viewed or seen anything outside of this courtroom?
No, I haven't, and I brought my lunch yesterday and ate downstairs on the table.
State?
No questions.
No question.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right. Hello, sir. Can you please remind me of your juror number from Monday?
43.
Thank you, sir. The reason I'm bringing all the jurors out individually is because I received a letter this morning from a law firm in West Palm Beach, and they claim to represent an anonymous reporter. And here's what the letter essentially says. During the lunch break yesterday, the news reporter walked to a restaurant near the courthouse for lunch. Inside, there was a large screen television playing coverage and commentary of the trial. Additionally, 2 individuals in the restaurant were discussing a witness's testimony. The conversation occurred within earshot of a man who the news reporter recognized to be a juror in the case. So I'm calling everybody out individually to say, do you know anything about this? Are you aware of this situation? And also, have you been following the court's admonitions? Have you been influenced? Have you seen anything outside of these 4 walls?
Yes, Your Honor, that was me at the restaurant. I was getting my lunch to go, and I was keeping everything out of my view and wasn't looking at anything on the news. And I left immediately because I felt uncomfortable, and I haven't gone back to the restaurant. That's what I did. I ate my lunch in the park right out in front of the courthouse.
All right, sir. So when you said you weren't paying attention, was that to the television?
That's correct. I was not in the view of the television at all, and I asked the business owner to pack my lunch to go so I could leave.
And did you overhear 2 individuals in that restaurant discussing a witness's testimony?
I did not.
State.
No questions.
No question.
Thank you, sir. All right. Hello, ma'am. Can you please remind me of your juror number from Monday?
38.
38. Thank you.
What was the number, Judge?
38.
Thank you.
Ma'am, here's why I'm calling everybody out individually. This morning I received a letter from a law firm in West Palm Beach, and I want to talk to everybody individually. And they claim to represent an anonymous reporter. And the letter says, essentially, during the lunch break yesterday, the news reporter walked to a restaurant near the courthouse for lunch. Inside, there was a large screen television playing coverage and commentary of the trial. Additionally, 2 individuals in the restaurant were discussing a witness's testimony. The conversation occurred within earshot of a man who the news reporter recognized to be a juror in the case. So the reason I'm calling everybody out individually is just to say, do you know anything about this? Have you heard anything about this? And have you seen any news or anything outside of these 4 walls about this case? State?
No questions.
No?
No questions.
Defense?
No question.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, the jury's out. State, do you want to be heard on this issue?
No, thank you.
Defense?
No.
All right, the letter that I received from the law firm is going to be filed in the court file.
I was just informed by someone in the audience that they were at the same restaurant and had some knowledge confirming his story.
Confirming his story,
That
okay.
he requested the TV be turned off.
That he requested it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The deputy has informed me that somebody in the audience was at the same restaurant, and again, this is hearsay within hearsay, would confirm that the juror asked for the television to be turned off.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody want me to find out who that is and have them brought forward? State?
Give me just a moment. No, Your Honor.
All right. So is there anything else we need to take up before we get started with today's case?
Not from the state.
Not from the offense.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and bring the jury in.